Hello and welcome to the Today's Homeowner Weekly Podcast. We're here to help you with the challenges we all face as homeowners. I'm Danny Lifford.
And I'm Joe Truini. And each week, Danny and I are here on the podcast to answer any and all home improvement questions.
And we want to hear from you. Send us your questions or comments at todayshomeowner.com/podcast. Today's Homeowner Podcast is brought to you by the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
The sound of you doing is music to our ears. Order on the Home Depot app and get convenient delivery, so you don't have to stop doing when you need something. The Home Depot app. How doers get more done.
This week, we look at a very simple way of solving a problem with stucco cracks. It's really not as hard to camouflage those cracks as you might think. Also, a great thing to do inside your home, an accent wall. It works great in just about any room in the house. Are you thinking about a whole house generator? How big of a generator do you need? We'll explore that and the proper way to exhaust a range hood. What about the simple solution, Joe?
I've got a quick and easy way to clean grout, tile grout, using a product you might have in your home right now.
I love those kind of simple solutions. Okay, let's get started.
Danny, spring is here. I'm up in New England and Danny's down in South Alabama. Spring isn't exactly here for me yet. We had snow about a week ago. And so I know you've been talking about possibly mowing your lawn. Mm-hmm. My lawn tractor's still under a tarp. I have to brush the snow off, so I'm not quite ready for spring, but I think a lot of our listeners are. And if you're looking at fixing up the outside of your house or maybe your yard, get in touch with us. We'll see if we can help you out today.
Of course, I have to pick on Joe a little bit during this time of the year because the weather's so much better.
Already? We're only been on air like 60 seconds. Okay,
I know. I couldn't resist
That's all
such
right.
a pretty day. And as soon as we finish the broadcast today, I have my truck and my trailer loaded, headed to Birmingham, Alabama. That's about a 4.5-hour drive, picking up 4 pallets of sod along the way.
Oh.
And can't wait to get to my youngest daughter, Emily's new house that she bought. It's about 4 years old, but new to her. And she can't wait to create that backyard. That's what a lot of people are thinking about during this time of the year is, taking that yard and you've been putting it off. Well,
right.
You might want to attack it like Emily's doing by completely eliminating. So what she did, now, first of all, it's a small townhome, so we're talking about an area here that's only 25 foot wide, but it's 90 feet long.
Oh, wow.
So, first of all, she's already pretty much eliminated all vegetation there by spraying chemicals on it.
Was there grass there to begin with that she tore up?
Grass, weeds, shrubs, a little bit of just
I see.
Just a terrible looking thing. It was time for it to all be eliminated. So she did that a little while back. I'm bringing up a rototiller. We have the compost that's going to be mixed in it. But anyway, Joe, I thought it would be a good thing for us just to kind of go through the steps if someone's considering that.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of myths out there. And just like I mentioned earlier, you start reading online and you get all kind of conflicts of opinions, but we can always rely on the things that have worked well for us. And after putting down 57 pallets of grass in my yard,
that's right.
Not that I'm the expert, but I'm headed in that direction.
Yeah, that was only 2 years ago, right? 2.5
exactly.
years ago. Yeah.
And now after seeing it, I could say, well, what I did, I think, was the right way. And what I did is, of course, I roughly raked the grass. And again, if you're trying to get all new grass in your yard, I would not suggest putting sod on top of an existing sod lawn. There's a lot of experts out there that talk about how you really need to get those new roots of that new sod down into the soil without it having to go through a blanket of existing sod or weeds. So it's by far better to eliminate however way you can any of the vegetation there, rake it all out, get it out of there, and then if you don't have a rototiller, go ahead and rent one, and you're only trying to kind of rotate and cultivate maybe 4 or 5 inches of the soil, and go ahead and run it over all of that, rake it again, and then what we're doing then, Joe, is just going to add some bag compost, just sprinkle it all through it,
right? Yep.
Rake it again, and then it's time for the grass to go down. Well, one more step making sure that you water all of the soil really, really well before you put that sod down, because that immediately puts it in a good moist environment
Right.
with the compost there, and it's ready to go. It's a boy. I made that sound so easy. By the end of tomorrow, I'll be worn completely out.
Well, after doing your yard, this one will probably go pretty quickly, and I assume you're going to have help. I remember when you put down your sod at your new home a couple of years ago, how you wanted to get it down as quickly as possible because you want to leave that bare soil exposed because you don't know what kind of seeds are flying through the air and going to germinate before you get the grass down. So you want to get it down. And the other question, you're picking up these pallets of sod. Are you going to pick them up closer to Birmingham, or are you going to get them in Mobile and drive them the whole way?
No, actually, just about 30 minutes from her home is a sod farm.
Oh, great.
And, and this is another great tip, is to coordinate very carefully with those sod farms, because they're actually cutting that grass this morning.
Oh, okay, good.
So, you cut it this morning, you get it right out the next day. So, 2 or 3 days, you'll be amazed at how quickly that sod will deteriorate if you don't go ahead and get it down as soon as they possibly can. And the sod farms they have a tough time, because if they have a heavy rain, they're not able to cut the sod,
Right.
and you might be out for several days before you can actually get your hands on the type of sod that you want. It's always a good idea to talk with someone and a lot of the guys at the sod farms are very familiar with recommendations on the type of sod that you want, because if you have a lot of shade in your yard, well, you have to consider that. If you have a lot more of a moist environment in your yard, you have to consider that, and different species of grass work better for that. We're actually going with the zoysia type of brand, and so it should work very, very well in her environment.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's the other advantage of getting it locally. They're obviously growing it in that neighborhood, so to speak, so it'll do well. And then once it's down, I guess then you take care of it like any other lawn, watering it regularly until it gets established, mowing it. And it's always important, whether it's new grass or old grass, never remove more than a third of the height of the grass.
That's right.
Especially when you're establishing a grass, because if you have a nice thick lawn, it can choke out weeds before they get started. A lot of people think, well, I'll mow my lawn really short and I won't have to mow it as often. Well, that might be true, but you're also going to encourage weed growth because they're exposed to the rain and the sun and everything else, just like the grass is. So, well, good luck. Have a safe trip up there. And remember the first rule of laying sod, green side up.
Green side up. That's exactly right. But boy, how satisfying is that for, it is a lot of work, and sometimes there may be a few ants in the sod that you're putting in. And so, it can be pretty tough, but that instant lawn,
right?
There's
yeah.
nothing more satisfying than walking out one morning and it's just dirt. And she's been looking at this dirt. I actually encouraged her to buy some hay
Right.
from a farm supply place, and she spread a small layer of that, and that stabilized the soil. That kept her or her little dog Clark from bringing in, some of the dirt, and
Right,
just made
right.
it. I don't know, psychologically, it just makes it look a little better.
Well, it is. You do get instant lawn, which is it's like putting down carpeting. And the other thing I've seen around here, I assume they do it in South Alabama as well, is hydro seeding, where they come with a truck.
Yeah.
And it's like a fire hose, and they just spray a combination of seed and I don't know what. And it sticks to everything. I've actually seen grass growing off of a telephone pole, the bottom of the telephone pole where it's stuck. And a neighbor had it done, and I was surprised. Within a couple of days, the lawn was growing. And a week later, he was mowing.
Yeah, I've seen that on the side of highways, that need to get some rapid growth on there to prevent erosion is a great way to go. And also overseeding an existing lawn is also a viable way to do it. And if you'd like to look at any of this information that we're talking about, just head to todayshomeowner.com and you'll see videos and step-by-step on exactly what you can do at your yard. Right now, joining us on the Today's Homeowner Hotline is Gene in Vero Beach, Florida. Gene, welcome to the show, and tell us what's going on at your house.
Oh, it's great talking to you. I listen every week.
Good, thank you.
2 years ago, I moved down to Florida from Baltimore, and I bought a typical development house. They pour a concrete pad. 2-3 days later, they put up block walls, and then they bring everything preformed in. And I've developed a bunch of cracks in the cement porridging stucco that's around the house. and I'd like to know what to do with it. I'm not sure if the block is cracked underneath, but it shows up on the outside.
Okay, well, I appreciate you sending those pictures we're looking at right now. And also, anything that we have on the show, any of you listeners can go to todayshomeowner.com and see exactly what we're looking at. And, the thing about it, Gene, is when you see a large commercial building with stucco on it, you will see a number of vertical and horizontal relief joints, control joints that they have so that it kind of controls the cracking. Same way in driveways, you'll see where they have the expansion joints in there to control the cracking. Well, rarely do they do that on residential homes, especially, smaller homes where you have the concrete block and the stucco over it. As a result, the expansion and contraction usually will result in the type of crack that you have here. Good news is it's not a settling problem, so you're not having to be concerned about it, continuing to progress. It's just kind of an eyesore more than anything else. Now, I'm saying all of this assuming that you're not experiencing any problem with doors not working really well, or these windows where we see these cracks not working well. Does everything there seem to be still continuing to work as it should?
Yeah, everything works perfect.
Okay.
It's just cosmetic.
Yeah. Well, that's all it is. And the challenge there is you can certainly cover up this crack fairly easily, but it's the touch-up of the painting is many times the challenge. Do you have any idea what the color, do you have the color of the outside of the house available?
Yeah, I have the absolute color.
Perfect. There you go. Well, here's what you need to think about. First of all, on any expansion and contraction crack, it's going to continue moving. Whatever, thermally, you have those 40-degree mornings and 80-degree afternoons or vice versa, and that means a lot of movement in the home. So whatever you use to patch this, I would recommend something that remains flexible. And one of the things we recommend a lot, and I certainly have used it a lot, is Quickrete's Stucco Repair Caulk. And it's just a caulk that you just very sparingly put in this crack because you don't want it to overlap the crack much, and just feed it right into the crack, wipe it down as tight as you can, and allow it to dry, whatever they recommend on that, before you touch it up. And that's probably going to take care of it for good, because the crack, even though it may move, the acrylic latex paint that you're using is going to move with it, as well as this flexible caulk that's used for repair. So might take a little while here and there, but if you do it right, you won't have to do it again.
Well, thank you very much. I'll get some and see what I can do with it.
All right, that sounds great, Gene.
And I appreciate the call.
And thanks so much for listening to us there in Vero Beach. And if we can help you any other way, just let us know. Joe, a lot of times when you see pictures like this and you see the cracks, of course,
right,
it's not following what might be, you think about concrete blocks and you think about how, traditionally a expansion and contraction crack will follow the mortar joint.
Right.
But this one may only be in the stucco itself, since it's not really following that line.
Yeah, exactly. Usually when you have a crack in a block wall, it kind of stair steps, right? There's a vertical, then horizontal, then a vertical line. It kind of stair steps, basically following the mortar joints. It doesn't usually crack right through the middle of the block. But yeah, Quikrete makes a couple of products. They make a product simply called Stucco Patch. Since he has a lot, if you have a lot of cracks like Gene does, it's pre-mixed, comes in a plastic tub, and also comes in a squeeze tube, or like you said, there's the caulking tube as well. And the nice thing about this, besides it remaining flexible, it has a little bit of texture in it. So the idea is it kind of matches what stucco, the surface of the stucco. It's not going to be a completely smooth, like you think of the caulk you might use around a bathtub is perfectly smooth, right? Well, that wouldn't work because you don't want a bunch of smooth lines all over your house. So that's the other good thing about these Quikrete products.
That's exactly right. So if you do it right, it won't really be something that you have to redo. It'll continue to move, but you won't see anything at all. Hey, let's get to a few emails. Love to get emails from you, and you can send us one right now at todayshomeowner.com/ask. This came in from Tammy in Tennessee. Hi, Danny. Our white brick home is discolored with red clay stains. What's the best product for cleaning off the stains? By the way, the stains are only along the bottom 2 foot or so of the walls. Boy, I hate seeing that kind of thing. So many times when you're building a home, the builders will, they won't protect that eave line. And that's something that, of course, when I was building my house, all of my neighbors thought I was crazy how much hay that I used, because it's soon as they put up that siding, then I put hay 3 foot all the way around the house so that there would be no splashback. Because once you get the stains in there, now when Tammy says white brick home, I assume that she used a white brick. Now it could have been a brick that was painted white. If that's the case, then the pores of the brick have been sealed off pretty well by the paint, which might make it a lot easier to clean off. But if this red clay has soaked into the actual pores of the brick, what would you recommend? That's a tough one.
Yeah, I was going to say, we seem to get this question every spring, and I think it's for that exact reason. There's a lot of rain and whatever is going on, all the winter storms, and it's splashing the ground. Sometimes it's red clay, sometimes it's just dirt. And you're right, if it's open pore, unsealed brick, this is going to stain it. Now, they do make a red clay stain remover. You buy a commercial, I don't know specific names, but you can buy that product. Otherwise, I would recommend cleaning it with, you can clean it with oxygen bleach, which we've mentioned before. It's bleach that typically comes in powder form. You mix it with hot water or warm water, dissolve it in that water. That's what I would probably start with. Scrub it with a stiff bristle brush and see if that comes off. And the reason you use oxygen bleach as opposed to chlorine bleach is that in this case, it's not going to, it's pretty much non-toxic. It's not going to kill any plants. And if you get it on your clothes, it's not going to bleach out your clothes. If that doesn't work, you'll have to move up to something stronger like an oxalic acid. Or an organic acid-based cleaner. I know Simple Green makes one. Clean Strip, and that's spelled with a K. Clean Strip is another company that makes an acid-based cleaner. And those work pretty well. I would not, sometimes you read using muriatic acid, but that is so toxic. I would not recommend that. No. They do make, actually, Dan, I don't know if we've talked about this, but they do make, it's a muriatic acid that isn't as toxic. But that's all she's going to have to do is clean it. And then, if it's not painted already, then I would seal it with a clear masonry sealer. So maybe if it does happen again, you can clean it more easily, or more importantly, cover the ground.
Any kind of mulch, another of the many advantages of putting mulch in your yard, you don't get that splashback against there. It absorbs it and kind of disperses the water, because it can cause a terrible staining on that, and something that it's hard to get off. But hopefully some of these recommendations, Tammy, will help you get the outside of that brick looking a lot cleaner. Hey, coming up, we're going to talk about fireplace facelifts. So many times fireplaces are the focal point of a large area in your home, and if it's old and sad, then the whole decor can suffer from that. But there are some simple ways to make a big difference in your fireplace. We're going to cover that and a whole lot more right here on today's Homeowner Radio. We'll be right back.
From installing a smart garage door opener, to installing a bathroom faucet, to removing a tree, the Home Depot believes you can do anything, especially the things we have how-to guides for. Visit HomeDepot.com for thousands of tips, workshops, and ideas for projects, big and small. The Home Depot app. How doers get more done.
Today's Homeowner is brought to you by The Home Depot. How doers get more done.
It's time for our Best New Product segment, brought to you by The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Now, if you live in an area with hard water, you know the difficulties it can present. Mineral deposits build up in appliances, reducing their efficiency, and the stains show up on dishes, sinks, toilet bowls, all over the house. The solution is a whole house water softening system, but those can be a little pricey and sometimes a little hard to maintain. So Rheem has introduced the preferred platinum water softener system with Wi-Fi connectivity. The price point is a lot better than many dealer-installed options, and they even offer a do-it-yourself installation kit. The Wi-Fi connectivity allows you to monitor and control the unit through the Aqua app, so you're aware of things like low salt levels or continuous water flow events. And this softener learns the patterns of your household and adapts to the way you use water. Plus, it offers an angled tank design for easy loading of the salt that's necessary. So for more information on this Rheem Preferred Platinum Water Softener with Wi-Fi, log on to HomeDepot.com. Right now, we're going right to the Today's Homeowner Hotline. You can call us anytime there at 800-946 4420. Joe, you have an opportunity to be with us on the television show
Right.
with your Simple Solution segments, but you don't get the luxury of going out and really working with homeowners. And we develop great relationships with homeowners. We have a big time during the week we're there. And when we did a project a couple years ago with Barbara, who now lives in Georgia but used to live in Mobile, Alabama, we had a great time, and I'm so glad that Barbara's joining us on the radio show right now. Barbara, welcome to the show, and how have you been?
Hey, sir, I'm doing great.
So you moved to Georgia, and you're trying to make a few changes around your home there.
I am. I really love the space you guys made for me in that little house in Mobile, and I bought a house that looks amazingly similar to that house, 50s built, hardwood floors, and the same very plain walls all the way around. And I reached out trying to get you guys to drive to Georgia, but I guess I'm going to have to tackle this myself. So I'm ready. I can do it with your assistance.
All right. Well, what you have in mind? Are you? I know that you liked all the fireplace, but you really enjoyed that accent wall. That worked out really nice.
It looked really pretty, and yes, I'd like to redo that here. And I've got the same kind of a dining room open to the living room, so when you walk in the front door, you can see into the dining room, and that back wall there, I'm going to build that. There's no crown molding either, and I want to add that as well, like you guys did. But I don't know how to cut the angles, and I live in a very small town over here, and they didn't know what I was talking about when I said, I saw it I typed in accent wall on your website, and I watched my video, actually, which was really fun. But the 1/2 inch by 6-inch wood siding, where do I find that?
Well, it is a little difficult to find. That is one that is a type of siding that's extremely popular on exterior of houses, and we've started using it more and more on inside of homes. And it is a pine, and it is pretty smooth. It doesn't have hardly any knots in it at all, so it's pretty
Right.
clear. But you'll probably have to deal with a company that does a lot of supplying materials to builders. So whichever area in Georgia where you live there that furnishes the materials for the builders for the most part, you might have to call around and ask, but they'll have it. There's always one or two companies that stock it because of the need for it on the exterior. And we a lot of times we like to use that on the interior because it's just only a 1/2 inch instead of 3/4, so it's not as
Right.
bulky. It looks more like trim, and you're also able to rip that down into 2-inch or 3-inch or 4-inch pieces, whatever style that you're looking at. But on the accent wall we did at your place before, of course, we painted that wall and try to pre-paint as many of these things as you can, and then basically just created a box around there. And I can't remember exactly on that I think we put a piece of siding right on the very bottom of it to create a look as well. So, but I would suggest just taking a blank piece of paper and go ahead and measure your wall that you have there, lay it out, and then just look at different pictures online of different accent walls, and you'll see one that's exactly like you want. And then just kind of zoom in on it a little closer, maybe print the picture to take to the lumber store so that they can help you get the right amount. And then it's just a matter of, you might even want to rent a pneumatic gun or buy one that's cordless like we use there, and be able to just slowly put the perimeter up and then fill in the blanks in terms of the sequence of the boards that you want in there. And then what's next, caulking and painting.
Yeah, that's the easy part, actually. How do I know how to get those corners cut? That's what I'm scared of. At the baseboard and the crown molding, do you have to have special tools for that?
Well, not a bad idea, again, to rent a small miter saw. That allows you to cut those real accurately and just keep those fingers away from that blade. But But that'll allow you to cut it very, very accurately, much better than just using a regular circular saw to do that. And I think once you get it laid out and look at it, and we're more than happy to guide you through the process, but I think you'll be pretty happy at that accomplishment because you adapted pretty well to all of the work that we did around your house.
Well, I enjoy working for sure, and I'm kind of excited to do it myself. I'll take pictures and send it to you guys. But you can rent a miter saw.
Yeah, very, very common thing to be able to rent. And you can just rent one of the smaller ones. You don't need a big fancy one. And Just use it carefully and keep that eye protection in place. And I think it'll be a big success for you, Barbara.
I think so too. I'm looking forward to getting it done. Bought some of the materials here, the crown molding and stuff, so I'm gearing up.
All right. Well, good for you. If we can help you along the way, just let us know, and it's great to touch base with you again.
You as well, Danny. Thanks so much for your time.
Always nice to be
bye-bye.
able to touch base with someone that we've worked with before because,
that's great.
Like so many times on today's Homeowner Television, we are using a small amount of materials, inexpensive, but making a big, big difference in existing spaces. And people are really enjoying seeing that because, you start realizing how much you can change an area for $200 or $300 or $400 or $500, depending on exactly what you're doing.
And Barbara has the advantage of not only having you in the house, in her home, putting up this accent wall, but she and everybody else can go to todayshomeowner.com and type in how to build an easy accent wall, and they can see that video themselves. But my question is, how many people move out of state after you work on their house? That's curious. I wonder. You're going to work on her house in Georgia, and if we find out she's in Virginia in 2 years, we might have to do an investigation. Like, what is going on?
That witness protection program keep you moving around a pretty good bit, I guess. So,
well, you're increasing the value of their home so much. They're like, well, sell and move to another home. Maybe that's it.
There you go. Right now, joining us on the Today's Homeowner Hotline is Bernice from California. Bernice, welcome to the show, and tell us about some of the questions you have about a whole house generator.
Well, hi, guys.
Hi.
I have a 14-year-old Briggs & Stratton 10 kW whole house generator, and it has a transfer switch, and it runs on natural gas. Now, I know that won't run my AC. I knew that when I purchased it. And now I'm getting concerned about the water, the fires, and the power in California. Mm-hmm. And I want to be sure I can run my whole house air purifier if in the summertime if I lose power. Because when the fires are here, I have to run it 24/7.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of online calculators that you can go and feed in, what you would like to run on your whole house generator, and it can give you an idea of the size unit that you need. But I'll tell you what, there's so many guys out there, air conditioned heating contractors, plumbers, electricians, that are starting to provide that service of selling and installing whole house generators. And I think I would get one of them to calculate. They probably could do it over the phone. And just think about every single thing in your home that you would like to power. And the thing about it these days, Bernice, that you might not be aware of, you mentioned the transfer switch. There's a new generation of transfer switch that's available, that intelligent type of switching that actually, I have that at my house, and I don't remember what KW I have on mine, but it's far less than you would think for a house my size, but it's because it will kind of pick and choose. It won't power everything at one time. So if you have your dryer going and you have, your hair dryer going, it might not allow all of that to take place, so that you do have the air conditioning, you do have your water softener, you do have your purifier, those type of things. That's something else to consider, because pretty much all of the brands have that. My particular brand is Generac that I have here. But I think that's another consideration, that you might actually be able to get by with a smaller generator and still get the service that you need out of it completely.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at a 14 kW or an 18 kW, and I don't quite understand when it says Wi-Fi enabled, and it's very confusing when I go online.
The Wi-Fi enabled, of course, everybody's doing that for every single system in the home now, and some will make a little more sense than others. I have the Wi-Fi app on mine, but I don't have any use for it, to tell you the truth, because, it's telling you if you need maintenance. It's telling you if it has come on and for how long, because it automatically tests itself for 5 minutes every month. And it'll tell you about those certain things, and I guess that's good to know, but I have so many apps on my phone, I don't necessarily need one telling me that. But of course, if it can alert you to a maintenance issue, then there's value in that as well.
So how often, you saying you have your generator exercise once a month only? Not my old 10K, it's so old, 14 years, it just automatically did it once a week. So you don't think once a week is I thought it was too much, but
I don't think that's necessary. I mean, there may be some wisdom there. If it's lasted as long as it has, it must be good for it. But I think, every couple weeks is the absolute most. Once a month, I'm comfortable with that. I mean, it's a brand new unit and it hasn't been used very much. So I feel pretty confident that that's monitoring and keeping it going well.
okay, that's really what I was curious about, too, because I was surprised when I saw that you could program it and everything has changed. And I went to the Pacific Coast Builders Conference when I got my first one and talked to all of the guys there. And that's how I came up with buying this Briggs & Stratton.
That's another good whole house generator. But I think I would really go ahead and make a list of exactly what you want to work when the power's out, and get as much information on the different appliances and so forth that you have that you're wanting to power, and then talk to a couple different guys and see their opinions on the size that they want. Bigger is not necessarily better in this case, and you might be able to have confidence that you're making the right decision by getting a couple different opinions on that. Bernice, thanks so much for being with us. Great information about whole house generators, extremely important, great comfort level for anyone to have one in their home. We're going to head right down to Milton, Florida, and talk with John. John, welcome to the show, and tell us what's going on with your home and this idea about your exhaust fan.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Our over-the-range microwave died, and we were thinking of putting in a range hood. Whether it was a an under cabinet or a wall mount was one of our questions as to whether or not the preferred method of exhaust would be straight up through the roof, through the ceiling, or through the ceiling and the roof, then out that way, or as a couple contractors suggested, was through the ceiling and then hang a sharp left and take it out through the eaves. And the other only two ideas I came up with was just straight out above the cabinet and a sharp left and let it exit the siding like a dryer vent, or just something ductless, and I didn't know which the preferred method was.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you asked this question because a lot of people are confused about the situations. And, the over-the-range microwaves, what a great idea, space saver. But, boy, they are terrible when it comes to the proper ventilation of your home. Now, you can adapt those to where they will exhaust, but still, they're just not as efficient as having a good quality range hood. So, and then, of course, you have to have the microwave. Where can you relocate it? I'll tell you, we have, installed other microwaves down in island cabinets and base cabinets that can work really, really well. You might not think of it as a feasible way of doing that, but it really does work very well for kids. Those are, maybe challenged in wheelchairs and so forth, or anybody, instead of having to reach up for it. But the question with the ventilation, the short answer is the shortest distance on your vent, the better your vent will work. So in looking at the picture that you sent, and I appreciate you doing that, is that an outside wall by chance, or does that wall go into another room?
As you're looking at the photo, the range and everything in cabinets are on a wall, of which the other side is our master bedroom.
Okay.
To the viewer's left would be about a 6-foot span of top of the shelf that goes outside the house. That's an exterior wall to the left.
Okay. Well, several different ways that you can do this. You could, of course, you want it to look good. So several ways would be to actually vent it through the cabinetry, and that's quite a bit of cutting in those center walls of that cabinetry to put the range hood in, turn immediately left inside that cabinet that's above, and then run that 6-inch line all the way through the cabinet. It's going to take up a little bit of cabinet space, but you can go to the outside wall. That would be the shortest distance, and probably might be the shortest distance, and would facilitate the efficient use of the range hood. Now, if you went straight up, which we've done quite a bit, we generally will case that with wood and match it to either the wall or match it to the cabinetry. Here, you actually could go with drywall on that and just tape it and finish it all around, paint it the same as the wall, and it'll blend in fairly well. Then you can go straight up in the attic and straight through the roof, or if it's closer, then turn left, right, or wherever to go to a sidewall. So it's not the difference between the roof mount or the sidewall mount. It's really more than anything, the closest distance is going to be more efficient.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm thinking that your first suggestion is either, through the cabinet, but since the cabinet is sort of short in height, that even if I went above the cabinet and then hang a left out that way, the total transit time is transit length is about 7 feet. If I went straight up through the roof, it's closer to 8 or 9.
I got you. Okay. Yeah. And of course, I have to say that any turn also will reduce the effectiveness of it. So, you just think of that air blowing out anything that's going to restrict it. So you might want to think about that as you weigh your options on this. But either way, you're doing a good thing, and you'll see a remarkable difference in the smell and the cleanliness of your kitchen by using those the newer range hoods. And they're a lot quieter than they used to be.
Well, sir, I appreciate your 2 cents worth. Thank you very much. You've given me a whole lot of good information I can think about and talk it over with my wife, the Admiral.
All right, that sounds good, John. You're a smart guy in many different ways there. So we appreciate you being part of the show, and hope you have a great weekend there in Milton, Florida.
Same to you, sir. Thank you very much. Stay safe. Be careful out there.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Well, that's a good project that someone's tackling. We want to make you aware of a brand new section we have on todayshomeowner.com that's brought to you by our friends at the Metal Roofing Alliance. There's so many questions about metal roofing, and there's also a lot of misunderstandings about metal roofing. So you need to go to todayshomeowner.com/metal roofing to get the real scoop on everything you need to know about metal roofing. I mean, do you have to take your existing shingles off to install it? How about the warranties? How do you find the right installers? All of that's waiting for you again at todayshomeowner.com/metal roofing. You get a lot of information and inspiration if you're considering a metal roof for your home. They're so popular these days, and they're one of the best investments you can make to boost your home's value. One more time, it's todayshomeowner.com/metal roofing. Hey, we have gotten so many great emails. We love getting emails and want you to send us some at todayshomeowner.com/ask. Now it's time for our podcast question of the week, and this comes from Denise in Columbus, Ohio. I'm shopping for 2 window air conditioners, one for my bedroom and another for our family room. The cost of electricity keeps going up, so I want to make sure the units are energy efficient. Now, I was told to really pay attention to the EER and the SEER numbers, and I understand they're very important, but I'm not exactly sure what I should be looking for. Any advice would be appreciated. Well, more and more people, Joe, are finding out about those SEER ratings,
Right,
which is the Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio, which the higher the number, the less it costs to operate that system. And I'm surprised. I know they've started listing them on window units, but for years they kind of hid that information. Now it's a little more prominent, and it's just about that simple. The higher the number, the cheaper it is to run it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the confusion is between the EER, which is energy efficiency rating, and the SEER, the SEER. And the confusion is that the SEER is only used for determining the energy efficiency of central air conditioning units, and the EER for window units. So what Denise is looking for are the EER numbers. And it's calculated by dividing the unit's BTU rating by the wattage of the unit. But all she needs to know is that window units typically have ratings, EER ratings, between about 8 and 12. And you want to go probably at least 10. I don't think you want anything less than 10 for energy efficiency reasons. And the other thing people don't often take into account are the other features on an air conditioning unit, especially a window unit, that can affect the energy efficiency, including you're looking for digital temperature controls, variable fade spans. They have sleep settings where they turn on and off, depending on your sleep pattern. And those all help conserve power, of course. So you might want to take that into account as well as the EER, again, an energy efficiency rating of the specific unit you're looking for.
That's good. Good thinking there, Denise, in order to make that more efficient. And overall, all of the window units are a lot more efficient than those 10 or 15 years ago. So no matter what you get, you're going to be better off than what you would have.
And, of course, the other thing you want to look for is what size unit. Because just like we say with a central air conditioning unit, they could be too big for a room. And just really quickly, I'll run through. You can find this online at todayshomeowner.com. But the room size between 150 and 350 square feet, you want a unit, an air conditioning unit. The BTU rating should be between 5 and 8,000. From 350 to 550 square feet, 8,000 to 12,000 BTU. 550 to 1,050 square feet, you want a unit about 12,000 to 18,500 BTU. And finally, a room from about 1,050 to 1,600 square feet, you want a pretty big unit, probably the biggest one they make for window units, between 18,500 and 25,000 BTUs. So again, you want to keep that in mind. You don't want to undersize, of course, but you certainly don't want to oversize.
There you go. A lot of information waiting on you at todayshomeowner.com. Joe, now's the time for you to share with us those great pieces of wisdom that you have each and every week here on Our Simple Solution. Take it away.
Here we go. We're talking about cleaning grout. Does anybody like cleaning grout? No, but there are plenty of specialty products on the market that are specifically designed for cleaning grout, dirty, grungy grout, moldy grout. But you might just have something in your home right now that works just as well, and that is toilet bowl cleaner. That's right. The same squeeze bottle of cleanser used to clean toilet bowls does an excellent job of cleaning tile grout. Just squirt a bead of the liquid toilet bowl cleaner. And the one I have used is, there's one from Lysol and there's one from Clorox, and they both come in looks like about a quart size and has a kind of a bent neck. And I think that bent neck is with a nozzle so you can squirt up underneath the rim of the toilet. But in any case, it makes it really easy to apply a bead of this cleanser right along the grout joint. Then wait a few minutes, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. You want to make sure it stays wet. You don't want it to dry, but 5 or 10 minutes. Then just scrub it with a damp scouring sponge, and you'd be surprised. That works on almost any grout, whether it's a narrow joint or a wide joint. So next time you have some dirty grout, try using toilet bowl cleaner.
Well, that's a great idea. So many times people will get frustrated with grout. They'll go buy a grout cleaner, and it just doesn't quite work. I mean, that's the case with so many things, whether you're cleaning or we talk about different situations where you're stripping a finish or paint off of something.
Right.
It's always good to try a few different things, and this is a great one that you might have sitting at your house right now.
Right, and the other advantage is I buy them in a 2-pack. They actually come in a 2-pack of these cleansers, and I think it's less than $5. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I think they're almost a quart each, maybe it's slightly less. And, a small container of specialty grout cleaner will cost way more than that. Mm-hmm. So if it works, try it on your grout. If it works, it's definitely effective and affordable.
Heck, that's cheaper than shampoo. You could just throw, if you get a 4-pack and put one of them in your shower.
Wash your hair with the toilet bowl cleaner.
Yeah, wow. Just don't tell anybody. Maybe get some private labeling,
Head and Shoulders and toilet bowl. Yeah,
exactly.
Combination product there.
Hey, that Simple Solution is available right now at todayshomeowner.com/simple solutions. And hey, look at some of the other ones that you can find there. How about repairing a rusted dishwasher rack? You don't have to throw it away and buy a new one. You can actually repair that. Also, tips for sealing paint cans. Paint is so expensive, you want to hold on to it as long as you possibly can. And if you're sitting there looking around your sink and your different areas in your kitchen and realizing there's a lot of grease around, well, there's a real cool way of eliminating that grease in your kitchen. Again, it's that Simple Solution. And also a tip for painting around toilets. If you're doing a little bathroom facelift, sometimes getting that paint properly around that toilet can be a challenge, but all of those solutions are waiting on you at todayshomeowner.com. Hey, thanks so much for those great reviews. Thanks so much for spending some time with us here on the Today's Homeowner Podcast. I'm Danny Lipford, along with my co-host Joe Truini, and we'll talk with you soon.